Welcome back to another episode of Play by Play, presented by Win or Lose Sports, brought to you by Project 360 Studios. The website is p360studios.com. We're going to dive right into episode number 19, and we're talking about the NBA. So since Dallas Cowboys football season is over, we're going to get more into the NBA season, and I haven't talked that much about the NBA season since the beginning of this podcast, earlier episodes. So we're going to get into the Celtics, how great they've been playing over the last, this whole season. And also, we're going to talk about the Lakers, and is Darvin Ham on his way out the door? We're going to talk about the Bucks and what happened in Milwaukee. Of course, we're going to talk about how soft the NBA has become, not just the players, but we're going to talk about the referees and the crazy calls that's been happening over the last season or two. So first, the Celtics, of course, are 37-11 this season, 22-2 at home. They went 20 straight without losing at home. So they went 20-0 at home, and then 2-2 over the last 4 games at home. Last night they just beat the Indiana Pacers. They scored 81 points in the first half, and it was a great game by everyone on that team, on the Celtics team. Talking about Porzingis had a great game. Of course, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And the surprising to some and not so surprising to others is Derrick White and how he's been playing this season. He's been playing like that since he got to Boston, but you see it more. You see him being more aggressive, which we like, of course, because it brings everything full circle as far as how this team is built and how much of a championship team this Celtics team can be. And which I'm hoping that's the case this year, because over the last few years, even with Ime Udoka as coach, you make it so far and you just can't get over that hump. And hopefully this team right here, the way it's put together, can get over that hump. I think it's mainly because of the addition of Porzingis and Holiday. So Porzingis is averaging 19 points a game this season, and Holiday is averaging 13 points a game. So with of course Jason Tatum averaging 27 and Brown averaging 22, that says a lot about how this team operates. Derrick White averaging 16 points a game as well. So that says a lot about how deep this team can go. This is not even including the bench. But because you have a player like Jrue Holiday who can facilitate the offense, who can dominate on defense because he's a great defensive player. And we're going to talk about the Celtics defense in a little bit, but the way Jrue Holiday can facilitate the game and not have to have Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown have the ball in their hand all the time. And there's no secret about the way the shots sometimes that Jason Tatum and Brown takes is they take bad shots sometimes, especially towards the end of the game. And you still see that this season, but it's less of that this season. And I think that helps them with Jrue Holiday facilitating the game, distributing the ball. Not that Jrue Holiday is leading the team in assists, and that's Derrick White averaging 4.7 assists a game. But in Jrue Holiday and Jason Tatum averaging 4.5 assists a game. So Jason Tatum still has the ball in his hand, but it's more of Jrue Holiday, especially towards the end of the game, facilitating the offense and making sure these guys get the right shots. Because you still see Jason Tatum taking bad 3-point shots towards the end of games. You still see Jaylen Brown trying to take guys off the dribble, even though his dribbling skills have increased this season, but you still see that. What you don't see is as many close games that they're losing this season because they have Porzingis, who's putting up points on offense. You have Derrick White, who's putting up points on offense. And their defense is the defense that I haven't seen the Celtics play in years since Ime Udoka was the coach. So now you see the scrambling defense and making the offense work for their shots. And it's not just the starters who are playing this way, it's the bench that's playing this way. When you see Hauser coming off the bench and playing defense, when you see Brissett coming off the bench and playing defense and playing the system defense that the coach has put in place. Not that Mazzulla, of course, I don't think he's the best coach. I don't think he's the best coach for the Celtics, but he's there now. And the way they're playing now is no question that they're the best team in the NBA. I still think that they have some improving to do, which is shot selection and organization towards the end of games, because towards the end of games there are questions about what are we doing? Like what plays are we running? What are we doing, coach? Like what do we do next? I think it was a game against I think it was Houston, when they were like, okay, what are we doing next? Like it was the Clippers. What are we doing next? Like, coach, this is towards the end of the game, and you've seen inbounds ball and he goes to Derrick White and he takes a 3-point shot, or Drew Holiday had the ball and he was dribbling around and the coach called timeout while in the midst of Drew Holiday dribbling the ball. So there was no play drawn up at all. Like, Mazzulla has to have control and some kind of organization towards the end of the game, so these players know where to go on the floor or know what to execute towards the end of the game. And I think that'll come with time. It shouldn't have to come with time, first of all, because Mazzulla is supposed to be this great mind in coaching. So use that mind and draw up a decent play for them to play, instead of them scrambling around trying to figure out what to do on their own, even though they can figure it out on their own. But I would rather have the coach draw up something instead of having the players figure it out. Because when you look back at when Jordan played or when Magic played, Pat Riley drew up those plays and had the players go out, Kareem and Magic go out and execute it. Phil Jackson drew up those plays, so to have Jordan and Scotty go out and execute those plays. Phil Jackson drew up those plays for Kobe and Shaq to go execute those plays. So it takes the coach, no matter how great the player is, it's still going to take the coach to go out and execute and draw up the play for the players to execute. If they manipulate or change the play somehow in the midst of going out there and executing it, that's fine. But as long as you did your job as a coach, draw up the play so the players know in mind the concept of what you want to happen at the end of the game or during the game. So I think that's what is missing from the Celtics and Joe Mazzulla is organization and execution. If you organize something, let the players go out and execute it. So hopefully that'll get better over time. Hopefully. We'll see what happens. So the Celtics are number one in not just the Eastern Conference, but in the NBA at 37-11. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference are 33-15. So second place in the league and first in the Western Conference. And Anthony Edwards have been playing phenomenal this year. They comparing him to, which I don't like this comparison, to Michael Jordan. I think it's because of the highlights, not because of the play and, dominating the game, because, he's I think Minnesota is far from the best team, even the best team in the West. It's just the record shows one thing, because when you look at Karl Anthony Towns, people love him, but I just think that he's not the player that he's hyping himself up to be. Because he could be aggressive. He scored 62 points this year. We'll talk about that later too. And what happened in that game was he scored 62 points, but didn't score 4 points in the fourth quarter, I think, and they lost the game. So that shows something like, okay, if you're going to be aggressive, you got to do it 100%. Do it throughout the entirety of the game. Not that you got to score 100 points, but if you're that hot, if you're that aggressive, you're scoring 62 points in 3 quarters, keep going. Like 58 points in 3 quarters and you score 4 points in the 4th quarter, keep going. Let's win the game. So it takes more than just Anthony Edwards highlights, more than just 3 quarters of great play. You got to finish it off. Another topic I want to talk about was the Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks, who are second place in the Eastern Conference. I think they were 30-13 when they fired head coach Adrian Griffin. That firing the hiring itself was pretty out of place to me, because when you go from Mike Budenholzer to Adrian Griffin, who has no head coach experience at all, no championship experience at all, and you're trying to win a championship, this is before Giannis Antetokounmpo signed this summer and re-signed this summer extension, and before they traded for Damian Lillard, and they hire Adrian Griffin as their head coach. So, and I know what they want to do is win a championship. I know what they want to do is be the best in the Eastern Conference and the best in the league. But to hire somebody who has no championship pedigree, no championship experience as far as coaching, that was a little surprising of that hiring of Adrian Griffin. Even though they were second best in the Eastern Conference, the firing was a little surprising as well, because they were, in the top echelon of the NBA. The problem, I think, is that Griffin didn't have the support of the team, especially the head guys of the team, like Middleton and Giannis. So, and that plays a big part. And if your captain or your superstar doesn't support the head coach, the rest of the team is not going to support him either. They're going to follow suit. They're going to follow what the superstar is going to do, which is not support the head coach. So you see earlier on in the season when Griffin would take out Giannis, and Giannis would basically stand at the scorer's table or stand next to Griffin and say, like, what are you doing? Like, I need to be in the game at this time. I don't want to be out of the game. And Griffin is doing this because, okay, let me rest him. Let me give a different look. And Giannis just doesn't agree with it. I've seen that on multiple occasions to where Giannis did not want to come out the game, or took it out the game and got put right back in there, which that defies the head coach. So there was no respect there. I don't know any personal relationship between Griffin and Giannis. I know Griffin was there on staff when Budenholzer was there. So it was a couple things. Like earlier this season, when Terry Stott was the former head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, who was the coach of Lillard for 9 years in Portland, was on staff as a special assistant. And there were times to where Griffin basically made Stott feel like he was less of a position that he had. So during games to where Stott would be talking to Lillard, Griffin would say, hey, come over with the coaches. And, there was some kind of disagreement there. So Stott stepped down as the special assistant to the Bucks because he felt like he didn't have a place there. And I think that was problematic, especially for Lillard, because that was his guy. That's my coach. Like, he's here because of me, to support me, and he knows me. He knows how I play, how I operate as a player. So Griffin, I think he lost the locker room. And when you lose the locker room, especially in professional sports, that's a problem. That's a problem because these are grown men that you're dealing with. And I don't think this was the right job for Griffin to have especially for his first coaching job. When you're trying to go for a championship, when you have superstars like Lillard and Giannis, and not that Giannis is a diva or anything like that, but he knows what he wants. He knows how he wants to operate as a player and how he feels a team should operate as a championship contender. Because not long ago, 2021, they won a championship 3 years ago. So he wants to get back to that position. So the firing of Mike Budenholzer itself was surprising to me in the beginning. Like, why would you fire a championship coach? Only 3 years removed from a title. So and then to hire somebody who's not even in that same level as a head coach. So it's a special thing going on in Milwaukee. So they fire Griffin. They hire Doc Rivers. And I loved Doc Rivers in Boston as a Celtics head coach when he won the championship 2008. So I love Doc Rivers as a head coach. They did win the title. We did win the title with Ray Allen, with Paul Pierce, with Kevin Garnett, with those guys, with Rondo, with a championship Hall of Fame team. Since then, he hasn't won very much at all. I don't even think he's won many playoff games since then. He went to Orlando, or coached for Orlando before or after Boston, coached for the Clippers, and coached for Philadelphia. Clippers, there was no success there. At Philadelphia, there was no success. There was problems with Embiid and Harden and Ben Simmons. So we'll see what happens in Milwaukee with Doc Rivers as head coach. I wish him success, not more success than the Celtics, because I want the Celtics to win the championship this year. And I think this is their year. But we'll see what happens with Doc Rivers in Milwaukee. The dynamic between Doc Rivers and Antetokounmpo and Lillard and the rest of those guys, Middleton, Connington, Brook Lopez, Robin Lopez is there now. So, but we'll see what happens. I just don't know if this was the best coaching hire. He's got championship experience, of course. It's just it's been so long since he had a championship run as a head coach. But we'll see what happens. So next up is the NBA and the defense in the NBA, or the lack thereof. Is there a lack of defense in the NBA, or is this the era of offense or dominant offense, or offense heavy basketball? Because when you look at the way these players are scoring, when you have Embiid, who scored 70 points last week, Luka Doncic scored 72 points last week. 2 weeks ago, Booker and Towns scored 62 points. Earlier this season, you had Giannis score 64 points. Of course, he had the incident with the Indiana Pacers and the rookie scoring his first point, and they took the game ball back to the locker room and all that crazy fiasco. But is there a problem with defense in the NBA, or is there more explosive offense? Because when you look at the 3-point shot, is that there are more 3-point shots taken this year than any other year, or these last few years. And the offense, to me, is a lot different from it was in the 90s. When you look at the offense in the 90s, you're talking about the Lakers, the Bulls, the Pistons. The Bulls Bulls were a great offense. They scored, I think they averaged about between 95 and 105 points a game. And they ran a triangle offense, which is not a fast offense. It's not a slow offense, but it's not a fast-paced motion offense. It's more of a methodical offense, but it does move at a decent pace. And they do put up numbers. And Jordan still averaged 30 to 35 points a game throughout his career, running the triangle offense. But you look at the offense now. I'm looking at the game last night, the Pacers and the Celtics, and they're running up and down the court. I mean, I didn't see but 2 or 3 set plays, and I think that's the way the coaching happens now, because they believe in these players who can, they run a motion action or action and set a pick, and then they just know where to go on the floor. There's no actual set offenses. It's about running an action. Okay, there's a back pick here. There's a pick and roll here, and there's a flex, and he's running off a pick and hitting a 3-point shot. So there's no aggressively set offenses. There's more of fast break offenses or transition offenses that gets you quick points. Because when you look back in the 90s, there was only one team between the 90s and the early 2000s that scored high numbers, and that was the team, that was the Phoenix Suns, because their head coach believes that if you put up more shots, you'll score more points. And if you run faster up and down the court than the other team, you're going to score more points and win more games. And they did that. They just happened to not win any championships in the process, because that's not a successful way of winning championships. The term defense wins championships, I think that's out the window, because now it's more of offenses. When you score, the Celtics scored 81 points in the first half last night, and that's the most points they've ever scored in any first half. So, well, this season, I don't know any other season, but I think it's more of, it's not that the defense is not there. It's that the offense is moving at such a rapid pace that the defense cannot set up. And I think that's their mindset now. That's the numbers. That's the way you put up more numbers. That's the analytics are telling them that not so much mid-range. Let's run more fast breaks, 3-pointers, get the easy layup, get back on defense. And every team is doing that now. Every team is operating in that same range of offense. There's no team stopping a team averaging 90 points a game on defense. Stopping a team and holding them to 90 points. I haven't seen that in a long time, because now it's put up more offensive numbers, more than the other team, and we'll win the game. That's the way the NBA is now. It's less, to me, it's less entertaining, because you do want to see stops. You want to see some block shots. You want to see somebody hold a defense to like the Bulls did the Utah Jazz in the finals to 64 points. Like, you want to see that. And then the Bulls dominate and score whatever. You don't see that. It's a different brand of basketball than what it is in the 90s. You can't really compare the two. Players are faster. They're stronger. They jump higher. So it's more highlights. It is what it is. So we just got to live with this high scoring offense. Got to get used to it. Another thing that has kind of morphed the game is, I wouldn't say the NBA is getting soft, but there's a change in atmosphere on the floor. When you talk about, of course, the flopping calls or the flopping itself on the court, and there's no hard nose, or the defense, of course, the hard nosed defense. And when you do have hard nosed players, and I've said it myself, like Dillion Brooks and Draymond Green, Rudy Gobert, to some extent, who commit these hard fouls. Zaza Pachulia, if you remember back in the early 2000s, who commit these hard fouls. Steven Adams. They commit these hard fouls and it's like, get them out the game. Get them out of the game. Like, throw them out, suspend them. Draymond Green got suspended for 25 or 15 games, or 10, 15 games this year because he swung and hit somebody, which is rightfully so. You shouldn't be swinging and hitting anybody. But back in the 90s, when we talk about the 90s, you had Bill Laimbeer, you had Robert Parrish, you had Rick Mahorn, Dennis Rodman, who made these same plays. And it was, okay, technical foul on number 10, Dennis Rodman, technical foul on number 00, Robert Parrish for throwing punches. Larry Bird gets a free throw. Isaiah Thomas, you get a free throw. Let's keep playing. And I know Adam Silver is trying to clean up the game. I know he's trying to put out a different brand of basketball, put out a different brand of the NBA, a more friendlier brand of NBA. But is that tainting the competition level of the game? I think it was tainting the competition level of the game, because now what the in-season tournament did was intensify the regular season, was intensify the players' aggression on the floor, which is good. Now you see Steph Curry getting up in players' faces. And the problem is now that these referees are getting technical fouls for taunting, for somebody celebrating a play, which isn't fair to the players. It definitely isn't fair to the fans, because we come to see or pay to see these players on the floor. We come to see LeBron James dunk on somebody. We come to see Zion Williams dunking on somebody. If Zion dunks on somebody, he wants to celebrate his dunk. If the player happens to be in his face while he's celebrating, let it go. I saw Matt Strus the other night in Cleveland. He was guarding Paul George and defended his shot. The referee called a foul on Matt Strus. Matt Strus got the ball, had the ball in his hand, and handed it to the referee. Real swiftly handed the ball to the referee. The referee put the ball down, technical foul on Matt Strus for handing me the ball. To me, that's a problem. That's, even though Matt Strus is not a superstar, but still, that's a problem, to where these players can't even have emotion on the floor. I don't even think he showed any aggressive emotion. He said, you know what? Okay, here's the ball. I'm frustrated. Yes, I'm frustrated with either my play or that call. And it's a right as a player for me to show my frustration for that call, because I didn't believe that I fouled this guy. But because I did show emotion, now it's a technical foul. That's a problem. I think Adam Silver needs to look into these, and that's just one incident. I think Adam Silver needs to look into these referees and these incidents. Like, come on now. Like, y'all can't y'all can't change the game and calling these soft technical fouls, these soft reactionary calls. Now it's like the referees are getting emotional because these players are feeling some type of way. Yes, and it's across the whole league. It's not just geared towards one player. It's not just geared towards Draymond Green or Dillion Brooks or LeBron James or whatever. It's geared towards everybody. And the fans are sick of it. I know the players are frustrated and sick of it too. I know the players are sick and tired of these referees getting emotional during these games, calling these technical fouls. And it's not fair to the players. It's not fair to the fans. Not fair to the league, because it gives the league a bad look. It makes them look soft. You're trying to change the image of the league and make it a softer, family friendlier a brand of basketball. That's fine, but don't change the construct of the game by having the referees call technical fouls or flagrant fouls when they're not deemed necessary at all. It makes us frustrated as fans to watch the game. You see highlights all over social media of referees, and it's not just fans who point it out. It's media points it out too. I see the NBA. I see the shows on ESPN talking about how soft the referees are and how they're messing with the game. And I think that Adam Silver needs to sit down, the head of officiating, the head referees and say, okay, let's not mess with the integrity of the game by calling these technical fouls. Let's not get emotional as referees to say, I'm going to get involved in the game and whatever I call is going to change the game. It's not fair. When you got Scott Foster, who should not be ever referee a Chris Paul game ever again in NBA history, who calls technical fouls or call fouls on Chris Paul because they have a personal beef between them. No, that's not fair. That's changing the integrity of the game. That's the NBA showing the fans that we don't care. We're going to do what we want to do. We're going to put out whatever we put out, and you're going to like it. And the problem is there's no other professional basketball league that's playing right now. And so we're going to have to watch it because those are our teams. Those are the players that we love. Those are the teams that we love. So hopefully that changes. Hopefully that somebody will get a talking to because we want to see good basketball. And hopefully that'll continue on this season because, like I said, the basketball that has been playing has been very intense, very competitive, and we want to keep it that way. We want to keep the intensity and competitive nature and aggressive nature of basketball, of the NBA basketball this year. Let it continue until the playoffs and then next year and continue as long as we're watching basketball. So that has been this episode of Play by Play. Super Bowl's coming up. I don't know if we're going to be a Super Bowl episode. I might do a Super Bowl episode before it happens, which is in another week. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/winorloseshow. Also, go to the website, winorloseshow.com. Follow us on all social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, at Win or Lose Show. So we'll see you next time on Play by Play.